Ever since Mitaram brought the sweets into the court, not a meal was eaten without discussing them. The cooks, sentries, maids, everyone talked about the sweets and the fragrance that lingered in the hallways. Maybe the prince should have given the sweets to everyone, said the sentry. Maybe the prince should have found Mitaram and made him bring more sweets, said another. Prince Vitara too found it difficult to forget the aroma of the sweets. He ordered that the palace be sprayed with camphor fumes to wipe out the wafting smell, but it did not help. The smell was lodged in everyone's minds. Wiping it out of the courtyard thrones, curtains and carpets did not make it go away. The news reached the ministers and the queen and king. "What is this gossip about sweets?" King Bhima asked. "It is nothing, father, just a taste," said Prince Vara. "Was the smell really divine?" asked the queen. "Yes, it was. Not even the royal cook has made sweets that smelled like that." "Your father loves sweets," said the queen, "especially those made of butter. The Laddus, that is his favorite." "Maybe we should order some sweets," said the king. "If only I had handled this case before I let you have your own court. Let me check that Mitaram is not cheating anyone now. If he has reformed his ways, then you can buy sweets from his shops." Prince Vera said he did not want Mitaram to use his court to sell more sweets. The next day the prince set off to the market dressed like an urchin. "Can you find the shop on your own?" asked the queen. "I will ask around," said Prince Vara, but he did not have to. The buttery, sugary smell wafted through the market, telling him where to go. Vara sat outside the sweet shop for hours, smelling the cinnamon, cardamom, and cashews. He watched the customers come in and saw that Miriam was fed to them. He looked at the plates on the shelves loaded with sweets. He licked his lips, but he bought nothing. After sunset, Mataram closed his shop, and Prince Vara returned to the palace, hungry, tired, and hot. "It is hard business, this justice," he thought, but it was good to know that Mataram had indeed mended his ways. The next day the prince sent a sentry with a large cart down to the market. The king had written down his order for the sweets, and so had the queen. Prince Vara and Sutru wanted some, too. Every member of the royal household wanted the sweets. Metam was delighted. He checked the list many times. He loaded the cart with sweets. "These are for the king, the queen, and the prince," he said. "I will personally deliver the rest by tomorrow. First, we have to make a new batch. That means the rest of us will have to wait another day," said the sentry, and he drove the cart back towards the palace. Back at the palace, the royal family was waiting. As soon as the cart arrived, the sweets were unloaded and brought to the kitchen. The king stepped forward and opened a large box of Laddus. The yellow balls of lentils fried in sugar syrup glistened in the light. "Swadishta, delicious," he cried, after biting into a big laddu. Just as he finished the first and reached for a second, the minister arrived. "A messenger from the kingdom of Chalu is here to see you, Your Majesty," he said. Not now, the king moaned. Sorry, your majesty, this is of utmost importance. The king put the box down on the table. There were exactly 11 ladders left. Do not smell them and do not touch them, he warned, and do not eat them. Early the next morning, Prince Vara was awakened by a loud noise. He stumbled out of bed and went to the door. What was it? It was not thunder, but more like a roar. He opened the door and listened intently. It sounded like his father, but King Burma never shouted, at least not that early in the morning. The sun had not even risen high enough to warm the pond in the garden. Prince Vara slipped out of his room and followed the sound. His father was not in his room. He was not in the courtyard. His father was not on the grounds or anywhere in the pond. Where could he be? Prince Vara listened hard. The sound came from the far east wing of the palace, by the royal kitchen. What was his father doing in the kitchen? He hardly ever went there unless he did not want anyone to know he was eating. Then Vara remembered the sweets that his father had to abandon until his official duties were over. Vara walked swiftly to the kitchen. A crowd of servants stood outside, their ears to the door. Inside, the king ranted and raved. When the prince walked closer, the servants moved away. What is going on? Vara asked. It is about the Laddus, said one of the maids. The Laddu? Is that the reason for his anger? I handled the case and I brought the vagrants into the palace. Vara thought, oh, my sweet butters, what is going to happen to me? One Laddu is missing, said the maid. The king left exactly 11 of them in the box last night. This morning when he came by, only 10 remained. Do you know who took the missing Laddu? No one knows. Nobody will own up. Prince Vara smiled. This was something he could handle. Where the Laddu had gone missing, it will never come back. But the memory of its fragrance and its taste will never leave the mind of the person who had eaten it. Time for me to sort this out, he said. As he pushed the door open, he went into the kitchen. Inside, he saw the king was still in his pajamas, standing on top of a huge cauldron. His face was red. The kitchen staff stood in front of him, shaking like the flag on a windy day. Father, what is the problem? Vara asked. The king stopped his tirade and looked at his son. I want to know who is lying. I can forgive stealing, but not lying. Why not leave this to me, said the prince. I will find out. This is all because of your taste, said the king. We were happy before we knew about Mitaram's sweet. Prince Vara hung his head. The sooner he found the culprit, the better it would be for everyone. He braced himself and looked up. Father, you have many appointments today. Why don't you get ready while I solve this problem? I'll bring the culprit to your court. King Bhima handed the box of ladders to his guard and said, keep this under lock and key. Prince Vara smiled. Remember, he said to everyone, you are in this kitchen to cook, not steal it. The sooner we get to the bottom of this, the sooner we can all get back to cooking breakfast and lunch. No one stirred. The thief was lying low. I know the sweets are very tempting and the smell makes you hungry, but it is not good to lie to the king, said Prince Vara. Now who took the laddu? No one owned up. Not a single word was spoken. Prince Vara did not know who the thief could be. I will tell the king to forgive you, and the prince said the prince. But you must now confess. Again no one stepped forward. Then it is time to invoke the god of honesty, the prince said, signaling to the sentry. Please fetch me 20 pieces of firewood of the same length. In a few minutes the sentry returned with an armload of firewood. Each of you gets 1 piece of wood, said the prince. You will step through the pantry invoking the god of honesty and pray for mercy. Then you will come out the other side. Everyone nodded. If you are speaking the truth, your firewood will shrink by an inch by the time you step out of the other side. If you are lying, the god of honesty will not grace you with his presence, and your stick will remain the same length. The sentry handed out the sticks as each person walked through the pantry. The prince stood waiting on the other side. As they walked in, each of them chanted the familiar slogan, Satyameva Jayate, invoking the god of honesty. They stepped out of the pantry and stood in front of the prince with their piece of wood. Measure each of these, Vera ordered. The sentry measured each piece of firewood and noted the measurements on a scroll. Prince Vera then read through the scroll and smiled. I know who did it. Tell the king we will be on his thought shortly. But the king did not wait for Vera. He wanted to know who lied to him. He came to the kitchen right away. Do you know who did it? Asked the king. Yes, father, I know who stole the laddu and who lied to us, said the prince. I will forgive the stealing. The laddu is not important. We are getting another cartload today. But who lied to me? The fourth man from the right, said Prince Vera. Before the king could say anything, the liar fell at the king's feet. I am sorry, your majesty. I will not lie to you ever again. Take him away. We'll deal with him later, said the king. How did you find this out, Vera? I merely invoked the conscience of the guilty man, Prince Vera said. Did you threaten him? Asked the king. Father, I did no such thing, said Vera, and he explained what he had made the servants do. How did that help? Did the guilty man confess? No, father. The servants believed that the god of honesty would shrink their firewood if they were innocent, because the god of honesty would not help him. The guilty man was afraid that his firewood would be no longer than the others. The king nodded, his eyes closed. He understood the myths of wrongdoers. They always live in fear of being found. The culprit took a knife and chopped a small bit of the firewood. So when he measured all the pieces at the end, the one with the shortest firewood was the liar. Prince Vera held up the scroll. Well done, my son. The laddu thief was caught by his own guilty conscience. So can I share the laddu with you, father? Vara asked. Of course you can, my son, the king said. Can I share one of your jalabis?